Welcome to the course Embedded Systems. In today's video, we are going to check what is the background of ARM processor. Let us start with history. Advanced RISC machine. Basically, ARM is acronym for that. So, an advanced RISC machine is the first reduced instruction set computer processor for commercial use. Acorn Computers Limited was a company who developed the first ARM processor in the year 1983, and this was a part of their RISC, that is RISC management project. So, it was part of a research where they have come up with an advanced RISC machine. Since this was developed by Acorn Computers in 1980s, ARM, that is ARM, was also known as Acorn RISC machine. Okay, so acronym standard for Acorn RISC machine 2, but nowadays it is well known as advanced RISC machine. The first version of ARM was basically commercialized. Okay, the first processor, even though it was first developed in 1983 in the research lab, it was commercially available in 1985. To be precise, April 26th of 1985. Let us say while the silicon industry was on a boom, maybe in late 80s, okay, maybe 88, 89 kind of, Acorn Group or Acorn Computers Limited has joined hands with Apple Computer. I hope all of you know Apple Computers. So, Apple Computers and then VLSI Technology, so it is a company name. So, these three companies have come together, put their hands together to collaborate and to establish a new company named ARM Limited. So, this company came into picture in 1990. So, there was a company known as ARM Limited which came into in 1990. So, the first commercial processor was made available in 1985, and the company, that is the Acorn Computers Limited, was renamed as ARM Limited in 1990 in association with Apple and VLSI Technology. Later, many other companies like Texas Instruments, NEC, Sharp, ST Microelectronics, I hope you might have heard about these companies, right? Especially Sharp, Texas, and ST Microelectronics is very famous in embedded systems. Okay, so these companies were licensed with ARM processor designs. So, the ARM Limited was basically giving out their licenses, okay, to produce commercially their processor architecture. The main aim was to extend the application of ARM processor into day-to-day life. So, it was then, okay, you know, the period was around 90s, late 90s. So, in late 90s, cell phones came into picture, computer hard disk was there, personal digital assistants, PDAs. Okay, it was a booming time for home entertainment systems and many other consumer products, to name few. Okay, automatic washing machines kind of, or maybe what you say, the sensor operations in passenger cars. So, for all these applications, ARM licensed these companies to produce ARM processors. Okay, different versions of ARM processors. So when I talk about different versions, ARM processors basically have, see, different types, okay, different versions starting from ARM 1 to ARM 10. There are many other versions are also later, but we'll be concentrating on these versions. So ARM 1 is basically what we have already discussed, okay, which came into picture in 1985, which was the first commercial available processor. But this particular processor was not having any coprocessor interface ability or coprocessor instructions. So it was soon superseded. Okay, so I can say that ARM1 was like primarily a prototype chip, and it was soon superseded by the second version of ARM processor, that is Advanced RISC Machine processor. So basically ARM2 came up with 27 registers, okay, huge number of registers then. Okay, now it is not a huge number, but then it was a huge number, 27 registers, and 4 processor modes. And what was interesting was it was clocked at 8 megahertz. Okay, that 8 megahertz is average speed of like 4 million instruction per seconds, maybe. Okay, around 4 million instruction per second. Then came the next version. So if you add a cache memory and a dedicated coprocessor interface, that is adding these two things to the second version of ARM, will give you the third version of ARM processor. The other major difference when compared to ARM2 was ARM2 was fixed at some frequency like 8 megahertz. Okay, the maximum achievable frequency was 8 megahertz, while in ARM3 variable speeds, like several speeds of ARM3 chips were commercially produced. The speed varied from 26 megahertz to 33 megahertz, which tells you that ARM3 was 3.5, at least 3.5 times faster than ARM2. Now coming to an interesting fact. You know now how the train travels, right? You know that version 1, version 2, version 3. So obviously the next version should be version 4, right? Version 4 or version 5. But it was never made. Okay, can you guess why? Because as I told in the history, you know that in 1990, Acorn, Apple Computer and VLSI Technology, these companies collaborated together to establish a new, right, a new company known as ARM Limited. So all these three, ARM1, ARM2, ARM3 is basically happened in 5 years, like 1985, where ARM1 was produced, to 1990. So in 1990, when ARM Limited was produced, basically when there was a changeover in the policies, right? So when a new company is formed, there will be a lot of changeovers. Because of this, a lot of changeovers from Acorn to ARM Limited. These two versions were never made, right? Okay, so the next version is 6th version, that is ARM6. So this was the first commercially available RISC machine to have full 32-bit addressing capability, and it was having 31 registers. So initially you know that it was having 27 registers. ARM2 was having 27 registers. ARM3 was also working on 27 registers. But ARM6, the 6th version of RISC machine, came up with 31 registers along with 6 processor modes. From 4, it was upgraded to 6. And the clocking speed was maintained at almost same as ARM3, that is around 33 megahertz, which will give you around like 27 to 28 million instruction per second. Okay, now the 7th version, that is ARM7. ARM7 is functionally identical to 6th version of RISC machine, okay, in most of the capabilities. Okay, the only difference is it is clocked faster. It is clocked faster. But remember, ARM7 is the most popular variant among all this. The reason was then, okay, that time, that was the fastest RISC machine or RISC machine processor available in the market, and most of the embedded system designing, or there was a changeover, or there was a boom in embedded system market which took place when ARM7 came into existence. That is one major reason why ARM7 suddenly became very popular. And as you know, ARM7 was widely produced by Texas Instruments, ST Microelectronics, etc. So the reachability was also great at that particular time. Okay, and due to some other parameters, okay, like ease of usage, okay, everything is moderate in ARM7. I can say that speed is moderate, okay, compared to the higher versions I'm speaking. Till then, okay, compared to the previous version, ARM7 is superior in all the ways. But a question may arise in your mind that sir, there are other versions of ARM sitting down, but why ARM7 is still popular? So the reason is it is very moderate, okay, in the sense when it comes to consuming the power, okay, the design is easier, okay, the structure, the architecture, okay, it is basically something to do with architecture. We'll discuss that later also. But I hope you got that point, what I'm trying to convey. Okay, so because of that moderate way of dealing with things, ARM7 became more popular. Okay, so ARM7 was having a 32-bit application capability, okay, and it was updated to 64-bit to give ARM8. So that makes the next version. Okay, there is no much difference other than that. Okay, basically a 64-bit multiply instruction was added, which makes this ARM8 superior to ARM7. So in such applications, you will prefer ARM8. Then came strong ARM. So this was a wild idea basically, because all these ARMs was working on von Neumann architecture, where the instruction memory, okay, or the program memory and data memory was sharing a common space or so. In strong ARM, what they did was they have changed from an unified data and instruction cache memory, okay, program memory and data memory, a single, to a split one, that is to Harvard architecture. So they introduced Harvard architecture in strong ARM. Okay, so that was a major change then, but it didn't become so popular. So soon after strong ARM, they came with the next version and named it as ARM9 itself, and it is a small incremental improvement on strong ARM, maybe a little bit more clocking period or little bit more instruction per second kind of. Okay, so when this VLSI technology, okay, I'm not talking about the company VLSI technology now, I'm talking about the real technology of very large scale integration. Size becomes a major issue. You all know that we have Moore's law in front of us, right? So in semiconductor industry, the size became the major trade-off. So ARM10 was basically designed to be fabricated on very like 0.25 and 0.18 processors. Like it is meant to function at very high speed, like 300 megahertz, okay, giving around 400 million instruction per second performance, okay, while consuming very less power, like 600 milliwatt of power kind of thing. So this ARM10 is basically for what you say, minute embedded systems, and micro embedded systems we can say. Okay, so wherever micro embedded systems are required, ARM10 is the preference. But overall, ARM7 is the most popular variant of ARM processor. So I hope I've given you a clear picture of different versions of ARM processor available commercially. Right? Okay, so now over the years, the right time to speak about the evolution. Over the years, RISC machine, that is okay, ARM has continued to develop new processors and system blocks, right? Just now we have seen they didn't stop somewhere. They keep on advancing the features and naming them with right new names. So the evolution of features and enhancements to the processors over the time has led to successive version of ARM architecture. That's very important point. What you have to note here is when I am saying that ARM1 to ARM10, okay, first version to 10th version when I am arriving, It is not the same old architecture which they are using. They are updating the architecture also. So each time they update the architecture, they even for architecture they have created different versions or labels. So version 1, version 4, okay, 2, 3, 4 like that. So as I told you that ARM7 was where actually this RISC machine has boomed. Okay, once it became ARM Limited, then they came with ARM7. From there on, the evolution is remarkable. So if you look into the figure, I have not included maybe any other architecture, right? I started from, okay, architecture V4. As you can see here, this is architecture V4 and bar V4T. We'll talk about what is this T later on, little bit later on, okay? So architecture V4, in the sense it is architecture version 4. So architecture version 4 is mainly used for ARM7. So you can see this is the name of the architecture, the processor given, ARM7 TDMI. If you are interested in knowing what is a TDMI and all, you can Google it, okay? So I will not waste time in explaining you that. So and Intel, okay, strong ARM and all. As I told you that it was licensed to different company. Intel was also producing strong ARM version. So Intel strong ARM, all this was using architecture version 4. So this is basically where, okay, where the this version 4 architecture was very famous. Then it was upgraded to architecture V5. Okay, Intel has come up with X-Scale at that point of time. Then architecture V6. This is basically at this point of time, that is when version 6 of architecture was developed, they have gone for a Cortex version of ARM processors. Okay, so we'll see a little later what are these Cortex versions. Okay, but keep in mind, it is basically when the evolution was taking on, when the successive versions of ARM architecture was developed, it is basically version 6. Under version 6, okay, the Cortex variants of processors have came up. Okay, yeah, then came the version 7 architecture. So as I told you, the popularity started with version 4, and the most popular architecture now is architecture V7, because Cortex M3, okay, basically Cortex M3, Cortex M4 are built on architecture V7, version 7. Okay, so for real-time applications, for any Cortex M3 related applications, we build our processor on this architecture. So what you have to keep in your mind from this slide is the major evolution took place when the 4th version of architecture came into picture, and the most popular today is the version 7. Okay, and I will go in detail about what is Cortex, why I am highlighting this Cortex M3. As you can see here, I have highlighted this Cortex M3, all that. Okay, so coming to the next slide, here I have put up another figure, okay, which is basically named as instruction set enhancement. So this enhancement and extension of instruction set, okay, used by ARM processors has been one of the key driving forces of the architecture evolution. Architecture evolution doesn't come as it is without enhancement of instruction sets. What do you mean by instruction sets? The way of addressing or programming, right? So if I know, or if I can develop a new way of communicating, a new way of telling the system that this is what I need to do, that is what I need to do, kind of. If I can tell this in a better way, then I can have a better system. So the evolution of architecture is basically supported by instruction set enhancement. That is basically extending the instruction sets. Okay, I'll make it very clear. So in version V4, we started the evolution with version 4 of the architecture. Right? So basically version 4 of the architecture, see, I have nothing to say here. Okay, it was just a plain architecture. Okay, the best architecture with the best architecture using 32-bit instruction sets. When it comes to V for T, in the previous slide I told you what, I'll tell you what is T. T stands for thumb instruction. It stands for thumb instruction. So basically thumb instructions were introduced and V4 was named as, version 4 was named as version 4 thumb. So what are basically these thumb instructions? So here we need to understand that any RISC machine, okay, advanced RISC machine supports two different instruction sets. Okay, there's 32-bit instruction sets and 16-bit instruction sets. So 16-bit instruction sets are known as thumb instructions. I didn't search for why it was named as thumb. So it can be taken as a exercise for you if you really interested to know why the name thumb. Okay, you can Google it and find it out and let me know also. Okay, so a thumb instruction was introduced, and as I told you, thumb instructions are nothing but 16-bit instructions. So version 4 was supporting only 32-bit instruction sets. Now V4T will support both 32-bit and 16-bit. So the idea is during program execution, the processor can be dynamically switched between the ARM state and thumb state. We basically say that if it is 32-bit instruction sets being executed in the processor, we say that okay, it is ARM state of the processor. If 16-bit instruction sets are executed, we say that oh, it is thumb state. So during the program execution, the processor can easily switch over from ARM state to thumb state or vice versa. Okay, so you can, when I say switch over, it is basically they can use either one of the instruction sets. But you remember that thumb instruction will basically provide only a subset of ARM instruction. Then question arises, when I say subset, all the instruction possible in 32-bit is not possible in 16-bit, that is not possible in thumb mode. But what is the advantage then? Why thumb instruction sets were introduced? See, in the previous semester or so, you might have studied 8051 microcontroller. That itself you might have felt, right, too much, too exhaustive, because there were so many instruction sets kind of. At this point of time, you may be comfortable with 8051 because it was an 8-bit microcontroller. Okay, it was an 8-bit microcontroller. So an 8-bit microcontroller itself will have so many instruction sets, so many addressing modes, so many registers. Getting the idea? So when it comes to 32-bit processor, it becomes faster, right? Though so many other advantages we get when it is a 32-bit processor, I agree, but it will have more number of registers, coprocessors, memory, lot of things involved, right? More instruction sets, more addressing modes. So the programmer has a good job to do if it is 32-bit. So if you can achieve the same or similar performance with reduced instruction sets, it's a big advantage, right? It's a big advantage, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. So 16-bit or thumb instruction sets were introduced for that. The same functionality or the same performance, or when I say same, it is similar. Okay, similar performance can be obtained by 16-bit instruction sets. So it will provide you higher code density. That is the meaning, higher code density. So it is basically very helpful for applications or products with very tight memory requirements. You cannot go on providing so much of memory. You know that when it is 16-bit, it is 2 power 16 memory is required. When it is 32-bit, I need 2 power 32. That many addressing bus, that many, right? All this you have studied in 8051. So I will not go in detail to that, but remember. Okay. So I am telling this again and again to hit your mind, hit your brain that ARM processor is having a capability of working with 16-bit instruction sets, even though that is a 32-bit microcontroller. I can say that way. It's a 32-bit processor microcontroller, or basically 32-bit microprocessor, okay, which can be adopted to a 16-bit if thumb technology architecture exists. So it's a small change in the basic architecture. I hope it is very clear. Okay. So in the evolution we have seen V4, then V4T, then we have V5 and V5E. E stands for enhanced version. So it is basically for digital signal processing applications. So DSP instructions were added in version V5. So architecture was slightly modified to support DSP, digital signal processing related instructions. So that's why it was known as V5E. But let it be V4T, V5, V5E, maybe the immediate V6. Okay, all these supports thumb instruction. All this supports thumb instruction. When it came to V7, which we were discussing in the evolution, right? V7, that is version 7 of the architecture, is very popular. The reason is thumb 2 technology was introduced. See how the architecture development is helped by instruction set enhancement. Thumb 2 technology was introduced. So this is the right time to talk more about thumb 2 technology. And remember, while discussing history, we are talking about 1980s, then we came to 1990. So when we arrive at version 7 architecture, we are almost in this century. That is, this thumb 2 technology was introduced in 2003, if I am not wrong. So it's not even 20 years old, less than 2 decades. So this is an evolving, or what you say, day-to-day developing technology. Who knows, the moment when we are discussing, we can have a new technology. Maybe I name it as thumb 3 because that is the trend, right? Because they come up with these numbers. Maybe thumb 2 technology is developing or developed somewhere. Okay, forget about it. Let us concentrate on what we have now to study, that is thumb 2. So as I told you, in 2003, thumb 2 instruction set was introduced, which is basically a superset of thumb instructions that contain both 16-bit and 32-bit instructions. If it is difficult to follow what I am trying to say, look at the figure. Have a look at the figure. Okay. So here I can see, if this is the set of thumb instruction, okay, if this figure indicates the set of thumb instruction, which is 16 bits, then this is the bigger one, right? This is a thumb 2 technology which has both 16-bit and 32-bit instruction sets. So instead of relying on arm state and thumb state, I am creating a single thumb state. Okay, the processor need not switch between arm state and thumb state. Instead of that, what I did, I am going to create a new technology where within the technology itself both 32-bit and 16-bit instruction sets are available. So actually this thumb 2 technology is basically extended the thumb instruction set architecture into a highly efficient and powerful instruction set. When I say highly efficient and powerful instruction set, it is designed to deliver, okay, ease of use, code size, performance, etc. Okay, because as a programmer, later on you will come to know that as a programmer it is not easy to write a program, an application program using 32-bit instruction sets, then 16-bit instruction sets. Okay, I say that, okay, this is thumb, this many instructions should be executed in thumb mode, this many instructions should be executed in ARM mode. So this was difficult. That's why basically they thought about this thumb 2 technology, where you will be in a single mode of operation and you can write program in either 16-bit sets or 32-bit sets. The processor itself will handle it. The architecture is developed in such a way that it itself can accept it. That is the basic idea. Yeah. Now, as you noticed here, there is a dotted line somewhere here. Okay, that is basically where my Cortex M3 version come and fit, or basically ARM V7M architecture, ARM V7 M variant. Okay, M stands for microcontroller. ARM V7 M variant architecture fit into. Example for that is Cortex M3. As I told you, the Cortex, okay, when version 6 architecture came into picture, Cortex variants of ARM processors were commercially made available, right? So we will see in detail what are these different versions. Okay, but just keep in your mind that the Cortex M3 comes with, because it doesn't cover the entire thumb2 technology. That is very important. It covers all the thumb instructions, but it doesn't cover the entire thumb2 technology. The entire thumb2 technology is this. So I can say that Cortex M3 or ARM V7M architecture is a subset of thumb2 technology. Okay, thumb2 is a superset of 16-bit and Cortex M3 is a subset of thumb2 technology. These 2 points you should keep in your mind. And this figure is helping you to keep that in mind, so you can have, or you can have it on your book or paper or wherever. Okay, yeah. So basically focusing on small memory system devices, right? As I told you, the very large scale integrated circuits are now more concentrating the size and power consumption. So when we focus on that, okay, reducing the size of processor, Cortex M3 is the best processor which we can rely upon, okay, which supports thumb2 instruction sets. So basically Cortex M3 supports only thumb2 instruction sets. That's also very important to remember. Okay, you cannot have ARM mode and thumb mode kind of programming in Cortex M3. Okay, to add on, the thumb2 technology is a major feature of V7 architecture of ARM, as we discussed. And in this architecture version, remember, the design, the architecture design is divided into 3 profiles. 3 profiles, okay. So let us see that 3 profiles. So these profiles were named using Cortex, Cortex A profile, Cortex R profile and Cortex M profile. I repeat, what is this? V7 architecture which supports thumb2 technology is divided into 3 architecture versions. So basically the design itself is divided into 3 profiles. Capital A profile, capital R profile and capital M profile. Where A stands for application processor, where A stands for application processor profile, capital R stands for, okay, real time high performance profile, and capital M stands for microcontroller core processor. Hope that is very clear. So basically this application processor cores, right, Cortex A is a very performance intensive processor. So it is basically applied in such applications. Okay, it provides a range of solutions for devices that make use of very rich operating systems, okay, such as Linux or Android. Okay, in such applications we use. So basically just understand that the operating system, okay, a very rich operating system where a lot of application specific operations take place. So okay, so many applications, right? In your smartphones you use so many apps, right? Operation of apps, all those rich applications will be using Cortex A. So you as a designer or a programmer should be like wise enough to choose which version is best suited for you. So coming to Cortex R, as I told you, it is a real-time application high performance core. So Cortex R processor targets high performance real-time applications, okay, such as hard disk controllers, okay, servers, like networking equipment, okay, printers, okay. In enterprise segments and all, you will have all these big machines, right, managing of network equipments. Okay, then where you will be more interested is consumer devices such as Blu-ray. Okay, you heard about Blu-ray players, media players, all that. Okay, so all real-time applications. Coming to Cortex M version, so as I told you, M stands for microcontroller core, has wide range of embedded applications. Okay, very wide range of embedded applications. That's why our syllabus on embedded systems concentrate more on Cortex M version, and in that Cortex M3 version. That's why I was stressing in last 2 slides on architecture version 7 Thumb 2 technology and Cortex M3. So now there is a connection for you. So we will be, there's so many architecture available for us, but we'll be concentrating on architecture version 7, which supports Thumb 2 technology, and there are ARM Cortex 3 versions, A, R and M, and we'll be concentrating on Cortex M version, okay, basically Cortex M profile, and in that third version, that is M3. There is M2, there is M1, M2, M0 plus, okay, M0 plus, M0, M1, M2, M4, but we will be concentrating on M3. I hope that is very clear. Now this is the right time to discuss some of the features of Advanced RISC Machine Cortex M profile version 3. So the Cortex generation of processors was released by ARM in 2006. Okay, so as I told you, the Thumb2 technology was introduced in 2003, and thereby they came up with this Cortex versions of Advanced RISC machines. And the first Cortex generation, okay, basically I will not say the first, basically the third version, that is M3 was available commercially in 2006. So these are the few features which I can identify or highlight for the purpose of this slide. Okay, I can have more features putting in a different way, all that. Okay, so but let us concentrate on these features in exam point of view, okay, or gaining minimum knowledge kind of. Okay, the first thing is greater performance efficiency. So what does it mean? It means more work to be done without increasing the frequency or power requirement. That is the meaning of greater performance efficiency. The same architecture or the same hardware is going to give me an improved performance without changing the system frequency or without consuming more power. So Cortex M3 fits there. Cortex M3 is going to give you the best performance possible, okay, without any dealings with clocking or the extra power requirements. So as I told you, it doesn't require any extra power. Okay, so it basically it is a low power consumption processor. So it enables a larger battery life. The advantage is it enables larger battery life, that is auxiliary power supply life, which is very helpful in portable products and held products or portable products. Is it not? Then enhanced determinism is next very big thing. That is, it is going to guarantee you critical task, okay, or some interrupts, emergency interrupts. Okay, so these emergency interrupts are found to be serviced as quickly as possible. So Cortex M3 has that eligibility. Okay, getting what I am trying to say? So the next is improved code density. So improved code density basically comes because of that Thumb2 technology. So the advantage is it reduces the required memory size. We have already discussed this. Next is ease of use. What is this ease of use? Any microcontroller or any processor is not very easy to use because it may use assembly language, right, or any high level language. You should be a good programmer to use. So what I mean here with ease of use is the programmers were using these 8-bit microcontrollers, because these 8-bit microcontrollers and 16-bit microcontrollers were very popular because Thumb technology introduced 16-bit instruction sets in ARM also. So programmers were used to 8-bit programming and 16-bit programming. So the idea of ease of use is these programmers who used to program in 16-bit or 8-bit can easily migrate to this 32-bit programming. Okay, that is the idea, because it is having that Thumb feel. It is a superset of Thumb technology and a little bit of Thumb2 technology. So it is not very difficult to migrate from 8-bit or 16-bit to 32-bit programming. That is the meaning of this ease of use. okay, in programming point of view. Okay, then coming to lower cost solutions, it also deals with a similar line, like what if a processor can give you a 32-bit performance at the cost of an 8-bit processor or 16-bit processor? Who doesn't like it, right? So basically I say ARM Cortex Profile M and version 3 will provide you lower cost solutions. This is majorly because you are going to get a 32-bit based system at the price of an 8-bit based system. Nice. Next comes the wide choice of development tools. What do you mean by the development tools? The compilers. Okay, basically there are many free compilers or low cost compilers available for developing, okay, any application, and there are many tool vendors in the market who provides you free compilers for M3. Okay, there's a wide choice. So for example, if you can easily program using C language, and you can dump this C language, convert this to this C language into required assembly language, and develop any application. So basically this Code Composer Studio kind of, okay, there are so many this development. This is easy. Okay, there's a wide choice basically. So if I am stick to M2 or any other ARM processor, I will have specific development tools. So I am restricted. But when you come to M3, I have wide choice of development tools. So these are some specific features which we can put forward. Okay. Now coming to the applications, we have already discussed about few applications. Okay. But it is better to be specific on Cortex M3 applications. So Cortex M3 is ideally suited for low cost microcontrollers which are commonly used on consumer products like toys, okay, from toys which our children's kids play, and to electrical appliances what we have at home, automated washing machine, okay, air conditioners, music players, home theater systems, all that. So it's a highly competitive market led by, as I told you, this 8-bit and 16-bit microcontrollers were leading the market. But this high performance at lower power keeps Cortex M in demand. So low cost microcontroller, okay, giving high performance at lower power makes it a very competitive processor. Coming to automotive field, M3 processor supports up to 240 external vectored interrupts. Okay, this is, so once you study the architecture of M3, you will be coming to know about it. Okay, there are 240 external vectored interrupts. You can just remember how many try to remember how many your 8-bit microcontroller was providing, how many vector interrupts it was providing. Okay, this is going to provide you 240 with a built-in interrupt controller also, and it is allowing you nested interrupt supports also. Okay, so the lot of interrupts can be addressed. So this was one of the features which I told you, right? The lot of interrupts can be handled in a very small time. So it makes it very ideal for highly integrated and cost-sensitive automotive applications, right? ABS, automatic braking systems. So you cannot rely upon a microcontroller, okay, where it works in some speed, because your automatic braking system should work immediately, instantly. When I say immediately, there is no blink of an eye time there. So there is an interrupt. Okay, there is something happening beyond our control, so that the interrupt should hit the controller and the controller should react, and all these things controller should give you a signal, and the hardware, application hardware should react. All these should happen, right? Not even a blink of eye, much in 10 power minus 6 seconds or so. So it was found that Cortex M3 is superior in this kind of applications. Coming to data communications, it is ideal for many communication applications such as Bluetooth, Zigbee, all that. Okay. Coming to the industrial control, the low interrupt latency, which we were discussing, right? The low interrupt latency and enhanced fault handling features makes this version 3 of the variant M, a strong candidate in industrial control applications. So most of the industrial control applications, they go for Cortex M3. Okay, and when it comes to consumer products, we already seen, okay, discussed many applications. So I can just say all the side features, right? All the side features make it preferable controller in most of the consumer product applications. So I should not be very specific here. So far we have discussed so many advantages, right? So many applications, all these features, all these advantages make it a preferable processor board for consumer products. So viewers, I have just given you an outside. I didn't go for any inside. Okay, an outside of ARM processor basically. I have given you a glimpse of history of ARM and what is basically the ARM stands for. Then we have get into the evolution, right? Enhancement of instruction set, the thumb 2, the famous thumb technology, thumb 2 technology, right? Then we have seen the Cortex versions, different profiles, A profile, R profile, M profile. Then we have seen some features because we are concentrating or we are more interested in M3 profile. So we have seen a few good features of M3 profile and few good applications of M3 profile. So I hope this video will help you to get into or to get the feel of ARM Cortex processor, or basically the idea of the processor used in embedded system applications. So thank you for watching.